So I have 5 takeaways from Jamaica's 2025 general election, what I think we need to do better next time. What are your takeaways? What you think? Want to hear from you as always, all right? I'm Dion Jax Miller. Thanks so much for joining me. Time for tea. So overall, Jamaica's 2025 general election gets a passing grade, but there are always things we can do better, and there are 5 things in particular that bothered me, all right? 1, we need to make voting more accessible. 2, what to do about these hella long lines. 3, our local observer group Cafe raised some concerns about allowing them to observe, as well as the issue of people being allowed to vote after 5 o'clock. It's in their preliminary report. I'll tell you a little bit later on what it said. 4, we need to clean up the voters list. And number 5 is a big one: vote buying and vote selling. Now let's start with making voting more accessible, and I'm talking here about making voting more accessible for the elderly, for Jamaicans with disabilities, for people with mobility problems who have trouble standing up for long periods of time or walking. Now it's something we don't think about a lot unless a 4 people them, right? But we have to get serious about it if we really do want to make Jamaica somewhere for all Jamaicans. And we still have too many people that still hear this thing about Jamaicans with disabilities, people saying why they're not turning them yard. It's as if they don't see them as people. What I would say is that I know a lot of these kinds of attitudes come from lack of exposure, lack of education, so let's just press on with it, all right? But make we do better on this point. Now, Director of Elections Glasspool Brown said that for the 2025 election, 98% of polling stations were on the ground floor. This is a big improvement over what we've seen in the past, and it's a big deal. I don't know how many of you have ever seen a voter with a physical disability having to be carried up 1 or 2 flights of stairs to a polling station because they won't vote, right? It's completely undignified. It can be unsafe. It's important to have all our polling stations on the ground floor accessible to everybody. Jamaicans who are blind are also saying, come on, time for us to be able to vote independently. What now happens is that they can take a friend into the polling booth with them. The friend marks their X. But as they say, who knows what's really happening? Plus, they want to be independent. I interviewed 2 Jamaicans who are blind, Camille Wilson and Robert Williams, on my TV program on TVJ All Angles. They told me, look, this is something that's entirely doable. It's done in other countries. What you do is that you get you put the ballot inside a folder. The folder is what has the special markings on it that allows them to know who the who the candidates are, who the people are that they can vote for, and what their symbols are. Then beside the name and the symbol, you would have a gap in the folder, and they would know that if they want to vote for that person, that is where they mark the X, and they can do it by themselves without any help. You then take the ballot out of the special folder, and it's just a ballot like any other ballot, so nobody knows that it was a blind person who marked that particular ballot. We need to believe that these things are important and move towards them. I'll certainly be continuing to push for this one, and join me now, raise your voice, make the whole of we talk about this, all right? Now, I'm really upset that we're getting all these reports about people, older people, elderly people, people with mobility issues who left them yard and go vote, only to hear that no accommodation is there for them, meaning not even a chair where they can sit down upon while they're waiting to vote. Several people, including former Director of Elections, Orrit Fisher, made what I think is a fantastic suggestion, saying allow these people to vote with the special services, that is with the police, with the soldiers, with the election day workers. That way, on those days, there are way few people voting. It would be easier for them. It would also be easier for the electoral office workers as well. Now, Mr. Fisher says he's seen this done elsewhere. He said it would be very doable. All that would happen is that we would allow people who need to vote on that day to register ahead of time, open a few special polling stations for them. Bam, argument done. I love this. I'm going to be continuing to talk about this one as well. Now, issue number 2, the issue of lines, long lines. We're hearing of people in line for 2 hours, 3 hours trying to vote. Now, first of all, some people are saying why we can't vote online. The technology is there. Here's the thing though, this isn't like an AGM for a company or an NGO or something like that, right? This is an election to determine the government for an entire country. I don't say how you can talk about online voting seriously, knowing say all the time we're hearing reports of major data breaches and computer hackers going after systems. And if you don't think that somebody, whether inside or outside Jamaica, going to make it their point of duty for try hack the election and turn the election in their favor, you're not looking at what's going on in the world. So to me, that's not something we can do right now, but we certainly should be seeing how we can use technology to make the whole process easier and faster. Having said that, something else though, because long lines for votings are something that are common in elections, right? And we joke about how Jamaicans will stand up in line if it's for KFC or if it's for donut or if it's for embassy, right? But fun and joke aside, I don't see why we can't be a bit more accommodating. If we know there are going to be wait times, why we can't have a tent with chairs in it, right? Make people come take a number and then sit down and be able to be comfortable, even if it is they have to wait a little bit. The other thing is to have more staff so the lines can move faster. One of the things we keep hearing that holds up the lines is people who turn up without ID or with expired IDs. We'll have a special line for them. All right, Fisher says we can do that. Why not have a special line for people who need extra help? Have them go there first and sort out whatever it is their issue is, and then they can move over to the other line. I think we just need to think about how to do things better and how to make it easier for people to vote, because that's what we want. Number 3, CAFE, our election watchdog group, has been raising concerns, and this happened in the 2024 local government election, saying they weren't being allowed to observe some of the election day procedures. And we heard from the EOJ this wasn't going to happen again, and yet it did. CAFE reported that in a few of their polling stations, their observers were told they couldn't watch the preliminary counting. Look, it's a small minority, sure, but why is it happening at all? The EOJ had said it wouldn't happen. They said their workers are trained. They know about the observers. So why does this keep happening? I do not like it at all, and we need to fix it. Then now we have the absolutely alarming report from CAFE that some people in line at 5 p.m. were not allowed to vote. Now this is basic. ROPA says this, right? If you're in the vicinity of the polling station at 5 o'clock, you have to be allowed to vote. And again, the Director of Elections says this is going to be investigated. We can't let this go. We hope there are explanations for what happened. We hope it never goes so, but it has to be investigated. It has to be explained. Number 4, I think there is now a consensus that the voters list has to be cleaned up. We have to take off the dead people. We have to take off the people who have migrated. Now, Mr. Fisher told me that since 1997, when continuous registration started, the voters list has not been cleaned of people who migrated. Also, a whole heap of dead people still on the list. Now, right now, the number on the list is over 2 million. It's close to 2.1 million people. But he says his feeling is that the actual number of voters available in Jamaica, he thinks is closer to 1.5, 1.6 million. Now, what that means is that we have no idea what the level of voter turnout really is. So we could be expressing concern about low and lower voter turnout, when in reality, the percentage isn't right because the number of people on the list isn't right. We need to fix that. He also said that after the 2016 general election that he had done a comprehensive proposal for the cleaning of the list, and it was rejected by the electoral office. So we need to push through on this one so that it actually gets done. Then now, number 5, the big one, money in the election campaign. Now, whole heap of talk about this. Let's put it into context though. And I know money are running an election, all right? The issue of vote buying is not new. That's one of the reasons cell phones are banned in the polling station, because when the camera phones first came out, people would take a picture of the ballot and carry it, go show as proof as to who they voted for so they could collect their money. And then now, when the cell phones were banned, we started hearing now people were being paid not to vote. In 2024, the Jamaica Observer spoke to voters who admitted that they sold their vote. Listen to what some of them said. One voter said, me decide me now vote, but on the morning my MP, who me rate, come beg me for vote for the councillor who me not rate. Me tell him, say, me now go out unless me get a thing, and he give me a thing. That's why me vote. That was a voter in a rural constituency. Another voter in a corporate area constituency said everybody in her community who wanted money was given $5,000 by the sitting councillor. Then this voter said, but me get even more, because me link the candidate on the other side, tell him, say, me get the $5,000 to vote, and he give me 5 and say me for link a man after my vote, and he would have given me 5 more if I vote for him. Me just make everybody know, say, me vote for his second man, and a $15,000 me collect on election day. In 2020, residents of Central Kingston told the Gleaner that money was being wrapped in JLP t-shirts and handed out. And in 2015, the Observer had reported that then opposition leader Andrew Holness had accused the PNP of buying votes in a by-election in Central Westmoreland. He told supporters of the JLP to go ahead and take the money if approached by the PNP, but make sure they vote out the PNP. Yam them out and vote them out, he said to a cheering crowd at a rally in Spanish Town, St. Catherine. And in 2015, Professor Trevor Monroe of National Integrity Action had raised concern about this, pointing out that vote buying and vote selling is against the law, against the Representation of the People Act, ROPA. And he called at that time for the leader of the opposition to stop encouraging voters to break the law. He called for the security forces to put in place mechanisms to detect, investigate, and bring before the courts any case of vote buying or vote selling. So we know this is a problem, and we know it's been a problem for a long time. What to do? I think that is a problem. What do we do? There have been public education campaigns which have been run telling people not to sell their vote. What else we can do? I'm not even pretending at this stage that I have any solutions, but I don't think we've really had an honest national conversation about this, and we need to do that. Because if we get to the vote, where vote buying and vote selling is what is deciding who forms the government, what is that going to say about our democracy, and what does it mean for the rest of us who live here? Okay, so what do you think? Comment below. Remember, keep the comments civil, like the video, share it with somebody you think might be interested in it, and subscribe to the channel if you're not yet subscribed. Click the notification bell so you know anytime I drop a new video. I'm Dion. Thank you so much for watching. Back to my tea.